Okay, so this is lecture number one of this subject, that is Introduction to Physical Metallurgy. So the first content is Introduction to Department of Metallurgical and Materials Engineering. So here, basically, in metallurgical and materials engineering, what we people deals with, because the moment you will graduate, you will be a metallurgical engineer, right? Or you'll be a metallurgical and materials engineer. So what exactly a metallurgical engineer or a metallurgical and materials engineer do? What is our main objective? See, this department, that is metallurgical and materials engineering, basically deals with all these five things. This is the starting part, and this is the finishing part. So this is the sequence actually. This in this sequence, all these things are under this metallurgical and materials engineering, basically. Since you understand, everything we see around is a material, right? It may be your wood, it may be your steel, it may be your aluminium, or it may be any kitchen utensils, those are steels. Your door, which is made up of wood, right? The rubber band or any plastics you see around, those are also materials. So each and everything is a material actually, right? Each and everything is a material. So that means we people basically deals with materials. We try to make some useful component out of that, or we try to see what is the structure of those materials so that we can modify it further, we can design a new thing out of the existing materials. Those things we are basically concerned with, and metallurgy, that is about materials, and what is what metallurgy? Metallurgy basically, if you have gone through your school days, you people have heard about metallurgy is a branch of science or branch of engineering. Basically, you can say branch of engineering that deals with metal extraction. But it is not completely true. But I can say like that. Metallurgy is a branch of engineering that deals with metals and alloys. Here we are not concerned with all the materials like polymers, ceramics, composites, and all. Right? Basically, in metallurgy, we basically deals with metals and alloys. So sometimes the definition is like that: scientific study of metal and alloys is nothing but called metallurgy. Right? So this is metallurgy, means we basically deals with metals and the alloys. Right? So in our department also, we'll be basically concerned with metals and alloys. We are also concerned with some ceramics, but not polymers. Sometimes polymers, but not exactly polymers. Right? And so, what is the department of metallurgical and materials engineering deals with? So we deals with mineral or ore processing. This is the first part. So you people have been knowing that we do not get a metal, or we do not get a ore, we do not get a alloy directly from the nature. Fine. We basically get what? We basically get ore or minerals from the nature. The nature provides us ore and mineral. But our point is what? We have to take metal out of that ore or mineral. And we can make an alloy of that. And we can use that alloy for certain application, for certain service. Right? So the first point is what? Mineral or ore processing. That means we have ore or mineral in our nature. We have to process it. Fine. So that particular name is called mineral or ore processing. So, and the very interesting is what? We have a subject also. That subject name is mineral processing. Fine. The next step is what? Metal extraction and refining and alloying. So that means after processing the ore, we get a substance that is called concentrate. Fine. Concentrate is very important. Concentrate means it is free from lot of impurities. Technically, it is called gangue. Those impurities are called gangue, which are basically unwanted materials present in the ore. Fine. So that from the concentrate, we have to extract the metal. Next step is, that's why it is called metal extraction. We can extract the metal out of the concentrate, which is mostly free from the gang or the waste products or waste substances. Fine. The next step is refining. Refining means what? That means we are not always getting a pure metal directly from the concentrate. We get basically impure metal, so we need to do its refining or purification. Fine. Again, we are removing the impurities. And finally, after getting a pure metal, we are doing alloying. So you people have understood that we basically do not put any metal directly into the application. Basically, always we put the alloy into applications. Why? Because alloys are superior. They have superior qualities. They have superior properties. If you compare the properties of alloy with a pure metal, then properties of an alloy are superior. They can sustain many things. They can survive in the environment for a long duration of time. But metals, they do not survive much. They easily deteriorate or degrade in our environment, right? So that's why we have to do alloying. So you understood. So an interesting thing is what we have another subject called unit process of extraction. That is this part, metal extraction and refining. Alloying is not there, but metal extraction and refining, right? So that is called unit process of extraction, and other name is called principles of extractive metallurgy. That is another completely a subject is there. Fine. Next, after making an alloy, you understand, here the ore or mineral is a solid, basically. Basically, it is a solid. Fine. But during our metal extraction, refining, and alloying, we basically obtain a liquid alloy or liquid metal. And you understand, everywhere we seeing the metals are solids or alloys are solids, right? So we need a solid out of that, a solid alloy or solid metal. So we have another process called casting and solidification of liquid metal or alloy. So liquid metal or alloys are being cast. Casting means we are giving a shape. We are giving a particular design or shape to the solidifying liquid metal or liquid alloy. That means the liquid do not have any shape, you understand. It takes the shape of any container. But we need a particular shape of solid metal. So that's why that is called casting. And solidification means the liquid metal will become solid or the liquid alloy will become solid. And an interesting point is we have another subject called casting and solidification. Next, so you understand up to this, that means we up from a solid ore we are getting a liquid metal, liquid pure metal or liquid pure alloy, then that is has been cast into a solid, right? Then after that we are doing what? Mechanical working on solid metals or alloys and heat treatment. So after getting a desired shape of solid metal or solid alloy, we are doing mechanical working. Mechanical working means we are applying certain mechanical force or load, you can say, or stresses, so that we can make a particular shape out of that. Because you can see the car bodies, the truck cars, the automotive components, the utensils, or anything you see around, those are either having plate or coils, or they are very thin sheets basically. So to make those thin sheet, to make those coils, to make those pipes, you have seen the steel pipelines, pipes, we need to do mechanical working. That is called mechanical working, right? Then another interesting word is heat treatment. So heat treatment is a process basically where we are heating the metals and cooling the metals, or heating the alloys or cooling the alloys to obtain desirable properties. That is a very interesting subject also. So that means we have another subject called mechanical working, and we have another subject called heat treatment. So you understand, mechanical working is done to give a particular shape to the solid alloys, so that we can make a plate, we can make an coil, we can make a tube or pipes, right? So that we can make a body out of that, anything. Then heat treatment means we are giving certain heating and cooling cycle so that we can get some desirable properties. Suppose we want to increase the strength. Suppose we want to increase the ductility. Suppose we want to increase the toughness. Those are mechanical properties of our metals and alloys, right? So if we want to improve them, we have to give a treatment that is called heat treatment. So there is another subject called heat treatment, right? So after that, finally, quality control, testing of metals and alloys. Quality controls means, see, a customer will buy that particular metal or alloy which had superior properties or the properties which he required. Fine. So quality control is essential. You have, before sending it to customer, we have to check the qualities, whether it is fulfilling our needs or not. Suppose you want a particular alloy which should have certain desirable strength, but due to certain problem during this processing, all this processing, the strength is less. So what will happen? The customer will never buy, or if he will buy, then the next time he will not buy your metal or alloy, right? Because you are not supplying a good quality of metal or alloy which he required. So quality control is important, and that is sometimes called testing of metals and alloy. So we have another subject called testing, material testing or testing of materials or testing of metals, where we test many things, like we test strength, we test the toughness, we sometimes test the ductility, sometimes we test the hardness value, sometimes we test other things, right? Mechanical testing, sometimes we call it. So we have a subject called testing of metals. So finally, after the testing, the metal qualifies, then you can send it to the customer for making any desirable components. Like you can make a car out of that, you can make a truck out of that, we can make a utensils out of that, we can make pipelines, which we see, we can make any desirable, we can make our home, right? We can make a door, window, panels, anything we can make out of that. Fine. So I hope up to this you people have understood.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Okay, fine. So now the conclusion. In every slides, I'll show you some conclusion, what you have learned, or what we have concluded from this part. So metallurgist mainly deals with metals and alloys. As I told, we can have different kind of materials available. Everything is a materials. So we are classifying the materials into various category. We'll see that soon. So, but from out of all those materials, we basically deals with metals and alloys. Metals and alloys, you understand, that means in school days we have seen the periodic tables. We have lot of metals like iron, aluminium, copper, right? Best example of use of iron is kitchen utensils, you can say, or the buildings. Um, the structures we see are those are made of steels. And aluminium, you can understand your door panels, window panels, and the car, trucks. Those are also made of aluminium and steels. And copper, the best example of use of copper, you understand, our electrical wirings. Those are made of copper, basically. And the aeroplane we see, the flight we sit in to travel a long distance in a short time, those are also made up of aluminiums. Those are basically aluminum alloys and titanium also. Fine. So these are some important metals we are dealing with in our day-to-day life. Iron, aluminium, copper, titanium. These are mostly used metals. Other metals are chromium and all. Fine. A lot of metals we have. So metallurgy is nothing but scientific study of metals and alloys. Fine. Next. So I will like to elaborate those things which I have shown you in the previous slide. Sequence of metallurgical processes to get finished or semi-finished product from natural occurring ore. As I told, in the nature provides us ore or mineral, right? Those are looking like stones, big stones, right? From that we are getting metals, and from metals we are making alloys. From alloys we are making some components. So what is the sequence? Starting from the ore to the metals, what is the sequence? So as I told, first part will be mineral or ore. This is the red. Red means the red part is the substances. And in the bracket, the black part is nothing but the different processing. So we have mineral ore, we do mineral processing to get a product that is called concentrate. Huh. So here I have a question. So can you differentiate what is the difference between a concentrate and a mineral right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah, I need an answer from you. Anybody can speak.
Sir, concentrate is free from gang particles.
Okay, very good. Yes. Gang is what? Gang is nothing but it is a waste substances which is not desirable. Hmm. So we need to remove it. When to remove? By doing mineral processing. Huh. So we get a product that is concentrate. Now the concentrate, see, concentrate is not free from all the impurities. Huh. That is basically non-metallic part is not removed during the processes. So we need to remove them during this part, metal extraction and refining. So we'll get a liquid metal. You can see liquid metal or liquid alloy. Fine. So next part is what? Next part is I told casting and solidification. Basically that is called continuous casting and solidification. See, we can have batch casting, we can have continuous casting. But in industry, what we need? We need a continuous process, very fast process, efficient process. So continuous casting is preferable. Continuously we are pouring the liquid alloy. Continuously we are getting a solid shape metal or alloy. Fine. So that is called continuous casting. Casting means, as I told, we are giving a shape to the liquid metal so that it will solidify into a desirable shape. I'll show you a video. See, every time I would like to show you some images, some videos so that you can understand the whole process, a whole concept. So after that, you will get what? The product you will get will be solid metal alloy with desirable shape. Right? Then next step, as I told, mechanical working or thermomechanical working or heat treatment. Right? So mechanical working, as I told, we are doing some processing by applying load or stress, right, or external forces. Because after solidification and casting, we are not getting exactly the sheet, the tubes, the coils, very thin shape of metals. Fine, it is not easy to get that directly during casting and solidification. So we need to do what? We need to apply some load or force on it so that we can get a thin sheet, thin coils, thin pipelines, wires, the electrical wires, right? So we need to do mechanical working. And heat treatment, okay, do you remember what is the need of heat treatment here?
Yes, sir, to cool the alloy.
To heat and cool the alloy. What is the advantage of that if we do that?
To get desirable
Get
properties.
Shape.
Very good. We can
Yeah.
improve the properties. Very good. So it is a very important part. We are heating the alloy and we are cooling the alloy so that we can improve the properties. Suppose we want to increase the strength, we want to increase the hardness value. Suppose we want more ductility. Suppose we want some more toughness. These properties I will explain it. These are very interesting properties. We'll explain it. So heat treatment is very essential. Then after that, what is the product we are getting? Required shape like plates, bars, rods, coils, strips, beams, rails, angles, channels. All these components we'll get, and we can use that in our particular service. You understand? Rails means in railway track. You can make a railway track out of that. Coils means you can make car bodies. Strips means you can make car bodies, truck bodies. Plates, you can make any particular component out of that. A rod, bar, you understand. You have seen the rods, bar, which is used to making roofs. Constructing roofs, constructing bridges. You have seen those are rods, those are bars. Right? So that is obtained by doing mechanical working. And those will give an heat treatment. Fine. So what is the conclusion of all this topic? The conclusion is we didn't get directly metals or alloys from the nature. Instead of that, we get ore, which is processed in a particular sequence. As I told, we are getting mineral and ore, but those will be processed, and those processing should be in a sequence. That is a particular sequence. This is a proper sequence, which I have shown you here. Fine. So we get ore and which is processed in a particular sequence to obtain required shape of metals or alloys to be put into service. Right? So now this is the right time to show you a video. Please carefully look at this video. what I have talked, you'll get that from this video only. So just have a look.
Few fireworks displays are
Okay, let me explain some point here. This video is showing you steel product, which will be directly put into application, right? So you understand steel is an alloy, is not a pure metal, right? So that basically we get a pure iron. From pure iron, we make steel, and that steel will be used into application. So that means we will be having a ore of iron initially, right? The ore of iron or mineral of iron will be converted into the concentrate by mineral processing. We will get a concentrate. Then concentrate will be processed to get a metal, right? After getting a metal, liquid metal, we'll do casting of it, solidification and casting to get a required shape of solid metal, that is pure iron or steel, basically steel. Then finally we'll use that, we'll do some mechanical working on it, and we'll get a desired shape of steel, and finally we'll put it into application. So this video is concerned with that only.
Few fireworks displays are more spectacular than the drama that is steelmaking. The story of hot metal and cold steel is fascinating from start to finish, especially when seen through the experienced eyes of United States Steel. For our company, the story begins with a blast. As rock explodes and the raw materials of steel are tossed from the earth, the rock is taconite, and the prize inside is crude iron ore. We get at it by grinding the rock to powder and separating the ore with powerful magnets. Then we form and heat the ore into marble-sized pellets that will later be converted to iron. From bituminous coal, we create coke to fuel the iron-making furnaces. We crush the coal, seal it in airtight ovens, bake for 12 to 16 hours, and remove it from the oven as solid carbon fuel. The fuel and pellets come together in the blast furnace, where we add just enough limestone to remove impurities. From below, a continuous blast of superheated air combusts the coke, intensifying the heat and changing raw materials into molten iron. Sometimes more than 9,000 tons of it a day in our largest blast furnace, where it reaches a temperature of 2,700 degrees Fahrenheit. At regular intervals, we tap this blistering brew into giant submarine ladles that ride on rails to the basic oxygen shaft, where iron will be turned into steel. In this fast-paced sequence, up to 250 tons of steel can be made to order in less than 45 minutes. We begin the steel-making process by dumping recycled steel scrap into the basic oxygen furnace and adding hot iron. Sparks steal the show when high-purity oxygen is blown into the mix at supersonic speeds and molten iron becomes molten steel. Now we're ready to create the custom blends that make steel the most widely used metal on the planet. In fact, we produce over 1,500 different chemistries to meet customer demand for cutting-edge, value-added steel. Look for another show of sparks as we tap molten steel from the Bott vessel into a ladle. Then, for most of our steels, it's on to the vacuum degasser, where they are made highly formable. The focus then shifts to forming and finishing, which determine even more of the steel's characteristics. The first step in this sequence is to position the ladle above a massive tundish or funnel that feeds a continuous caster containing molds that shape the steel. The molten steel, now at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, is channeled from ladle to tundish to caster, where it cools to a red-hot solid. The shape of the mold determines the shape of the semi-finished products that come out of the caster. And since most U.S. steel plants make sheet products, most of our casters output slabs, typically 8 to 9 inches thick and 3 to 5 feet wide. As they exit the caster, slabs are cut into sections up to 40 feet long and stacked to await further processing. Then it's on to the hot strip mill.
Okay, so you people have gone through this video, and I think you people have understood something at least. So here in this video, I'd like to show something, right? I'll show you some ore here. You can see this is blasting, huh? This is a kind of mining they are doing. So upon doing mining, okay, blasting, they get the desired ore. Huh? Let me see. These are the ores you can see. Huh? These are the ores. And what is happening here? They are doing mineral processing. They are breaking the ores into small pieces, and there is a complete subject is there for mineral processing, fine, or ore processing. So these are the ore of iron. Can able to see? These are the ores. Huh? These are the ores, and mineral processing is going on here.
And separating the ore.
Then next. Yeah.
For 12 to 16 hours and remove it from molten iron.
Yes.
Sometimes more than 9.
You can see these are molten metals. As I told, during metal extraction, we will get molten metals. They are converted to. Then purification will be done. Molten metal will be purified. Then they will be alloyed.
Will be 50 tons of.
See, this pure iron is converted into steel here. Yeah, this is the steel. You can able to see this one. Yeah, this is the liquid steel. Huh? This liquid steel will be converted into some solid products. Yeah. Here you can see the liquid steel will be given a shape. You can see the shape, solid shape of the steel. This is a solid steel, huh? Finally. Again, I would like to show you this one. This is called a slab technically, huh? This is called a slab technically. This is the final product actually. This one is the final product.
And since most of our slabs,
you can see a lot of slabs are there. These are the salt after casting and solidification. These are the products.
Slabs are strip mill.
Okay, all these things you can see. After solidification casting, we will get this kind of slabs basically. Huh? This one. And after that, what I have told, what we will do? Do anybody remember? After doing solidification and casting, we'll get a desired shape of solid. Then, what do we need to do?
Mechanical work.
Mechanical work. That means we can make a coil, we can make a sheet. Huh? Just I'll show you some mechanical working. You can see. This is a mechanical working we are doing. That will be passed through rollers. Huh?
This is where we begin transforming sheet.
Yeah, you can see these are rollers. Huh? Okay, let me show you again. You can see these are the rollers. Actually, rolling is happening here only. These are big rollers. The big size alloy will be passed through the rollers so that it become flattened. You can see the hot slabs is passing through the roller into this is the image, the beautiful image. See, this will go into the rolling machine, and it will flatten further. That is also technically called metal forming. Also, you have to remember, mechanical working is also called metal forming.
Thinner and longer.
We are forming a component. We are forming a thin component out of that.
Through finishing stands where they are rolled even thinner. Finally, they are cooled and rolled
You can
into
see.
coils that may be
Finally, we are
1,000
making coils. This coil will be sent to the customers for making any car, truck, or bus, automotive components maybe, or something else
feet
also.
long, but only fractions
This is the
of an
final
inch
product.
thick. A far came out
And finally,
equipment in naked band, hot band.
these are the coils.
Are
You can
destined
see
for
a lot of
applications
coils are
that
there.
require special finishing,
Those big slabs has been
beginning
converted
with
into
cold
coils.
rolling
That
to
is
make
possible by
them
mechanical
even
work.
thinner.
And in
At
between
that
them,
point,
there is a process
coils
called,
may be
as I told,
shipped
heat treatment
or
will be
go
given.
on to one or more tinning to further reduce the
And the point I have missed, that is, as I told, in the environment, alloys and metal do not survive sometimes. Sometimes we need to do some coating, or we need to do some surface treatment. We need to give a coating so that it can survive for a long duration. That's sometimes called plating or coating. You can see the process is here only. These steel coils will be coated with some zinc
that
here.
uses specials and in fact facility parts
Let me show you.
that were unheard of just under the store something homes and higher with product placed on our cast
You can see we are making car out of that.
and with a cast of thousands thinner.
Okay.
At that point, coils may be shipped or go on to one or more additional finishing processes resistant to corrosion.
Yes, this is the coating going on. You can see those coils is dipped into a molten bath of zinc. Technically, it is called galvanization. You have been heard about earlier this one, galvanization, giving a coating of zinc on the steel. That means the zinc coating will provide resistance to the damage by the environment.
Make the steel resistant to reduce the gauge. Steel and lighter.
Finally, we are making a component that is car bodies. You can see.
Years ago.
This,
no wonder the story of steel making stays so fresh. With innovations,
you can see a car body, body of a car made up of steel.
that guarantee something new to see in each showing. With product placements in our homes and high-rise.
And testing is not shown over here. Anyways, maybe I will show you later. Okay, we'll move to the next slide. Okay, now the content is introduction to department. Okay, this is done. This is done. Okay, now material science and materials engineering. Okay, so there is a difference between material science and materials engineering, right? If you study this introduction to physical metallurgy, you should know these important concepts. So materials engineering deals with all kind of engineering materials, as I have told earlier, like metals, alloys, ceramics, polymers, composites. These are engineering materials which we will see. Then what is material science and role of material scientist? So basically this part is important. You have to remember material structure and materials property. Material structure and material property. So if we take any materials surrounding us, it will have a structure and it will have a certain properties. So there is a relationship between the structure of that particular material with the properties of that materials, right? A definite structure will give you a definite set of property, right? And what is structure and what is property, we'll discuss that soon. So you see what material science people do. Material science people, study the relationship between the material structure and its property. This is the function of, this is the objective of material science people, right? Because we can have, you understand, we have different branches also. In some institute they have material science only. So material science people basically deals with the study of relationship between the material structure and the material's property. As I told, a particular material structure will give you a particular property. And the interesting point is what? We are the people, we are the metallurgists, or we are the materials engineers who can do what? Who can modify this structure also. So we should take a credit of that, or you can like appreciate that at least, that we are the people who can modify the existing structure by engineering, by designing. Fine. So if we can able to modify the structure of the existing materials, we can modify the properties. So you understand why to modify the structure, because a particular structure will give you a particular set of properties. So if we modify it, we can get a modification of the properties which we want actually, which we desired, right? So that is very interesting. So, and what is material scientist do? So that means those people who is dealing with material science, they are material scientists. So they manufacture new materials. That is their function only. They manufacture new materials. But what is materials engineering and materials engineers do? Designing the material structure on the basis of structure property correlation to get materials with required set of properties. Already I have explained this one. Basically, materials engineer do designing of the material structure. Upon what? On the basis of structure property correlation to get a materials with required set of properties. And role of material engineers is what? To create a new product from existing materials, or to develop a technique for material processing. These are the two things. That means materials engineers can design a new material or new product out of existing materials, right? So what is the conclusion of this topic? Conclusion is, by modifying the material structure, the property can be changed. So desired property can be achieved by modifying the structure of materials. So the conclusion is very interesting. That means different materials have different structures. Fine. What is that structure? We'll see that soon. So if suppose let me give an example. Suppose you have a material whose strength is not good, but the strength can be improved. It can be increased. How? If we can able to change the structure of the material. If it is feasible, then we can modify the structure. We can improve the strength of that particular material later, right? So we materials engineers, we can do that easily, because we have a knowledge already, so we can do that. So everybody have to remember this conclusion. If somebody will ask how you can change the property of any material, just tell him or her, if we can able to change the structure, or if it is feasible to change the structure of the material, we can improve or we can change the property depending upon our requirement. Okay, so now we'll discuss what is material structure actually. I am talking about material structure, but what is that exactly? So material structure is nothing but how different components of the materials are arranged internally. Internally, how the components are arranged. For example, if you go into the depth of a material, what will be there? You will be getting the atoms, obviously, the molecules, atoms. And if you go further depth, you will get electrons, protons, nucleus, right? So starting from the electron, proton, nucleus, we are getting atoms and molecules, and atoms and molecules finally give you some definite phases, and those phases will finally give you some macrostructures, and finally you will get a material at the end. So how these things are arranged, how electrons are arranged, how your atoms are arranged, how your group of atoms are arranged, fine, and how the group of molecules are arranged in a material, fine, and all these things will affect the properties actually. So you understand different materials have different arrangement of atoms, different materials have different arrangement of group of atoms or group of molecules. All these things will affect the properties of the materials. That's why different materials behave differently, because of this arrangement of internal components or arrangement of the components internally. Right? So material structure is nothing but the arrangement of components, different components internally. Different components, you understand? Electrons, atoms, molecules, group of atoms, right? Those things basically. So we can classify the material structure into various categories. One can be atomic structure, one can be crystal structure, one can be microstructure, one can be macrostructure. So can you people tell me which one is the smallest one and which one is the biggest one in terms of dimension?
Sir, atomic structure is smallest one.
Yes, and which one is the bigger one?
Macrostructure.
Macrostructure. Very good. So you people have understood, that means this is the sequence of the structure. If you able to define the smallest structure, you can define atomic structure. Some people also define subatomic structure. If you want, you can define like that. You start with subatomic structure. Subatomic structures means the protons, the nucleus, the electrons, how they are arranged. So that will give you subatomic structure. Right? Then when you are talking about atomic structure, then you can see how atoms are arranged. Right? Then crystal structure. Crystal structure means these atoms, the group of atoms will arranged in a particular fashion. That will give rise to a crystal structure. I will explain this further. No need to worry about that. And microstructures means lot of atoms and molecules, they will arrange themselves in a particular fashion. That will give rise to a microstructure. So these microstructures are easily visible through microscope. You cannot able to see through naked eyes. We in our department we have microscope already. If you visit our department when the pandemic is over, or when it will be like the condition is good, then you can able to see the microscope and you can able to see the microstructures of any material. Then macrostructures, these are the big structures which we can able to also see through naked eyes. So these are the various structures. Fine. Now, materials property. So I have been talking about these material structures and material property, and I also have told that if we can able to change the structure, we can change the property of any material depending upon our requirement. So that means this two and 3 is most important for a metallurgist or for a materials engineer. Crystal structure and microstructure basically. So in introduction to physical metallurgy, we will be dealing with these two structures basically, crystal structure and microstructure. We will not deal with much about this atomic structure or this macrostructure. So that means in introduction to physical metallurgy, we will be dealing with crystal structure and microstructure. That means we will be studying what is the crystal structure of a particular metal and what is the microstructure of a particular alloy or a metal, right? And how we can able to change the crystal structure of a particular metal, or how we can able to change the microstructure of a particular metal or alloy, so that the properties will be getting changed. I think you people have understood.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so you should understand introduction to physical metallurgy is very important, right? Because we will be dealing with the crystal structure of various metals and alloys and the microstructure of various alloys. And after studying that, we can also able to modify that. We can modify the crystal structure, we can modify the microstructures, so that we can modify the properties which we want actually. And in introduction to physical metallurgy, basically we deal with mechanical properties like hardness, strength, ductility, toughness. I will define these terms later. So now And if possible, I'd like to show you this images of these things in the next class. Materials property and its classification. So what is material property? See, materials property means you take any materials. This material will show its behavior, right? Property is nothing but its behavior actually, or how it show its response to an external stimuli or external stimulus. Fine. Suppose you take a metal, for example. Fine. You take a metal and you try to hammer it with a high force. So what will happen? It will deform, it will get elongated, or it will change its shape. So the change in shape of the metal is its property when you are hammering it, right? So external stimuli here is what? External stimulus here is the external force you are applying. That is the external stimulus. And the behavior or the response by the metal is what? It is getting elongated, or it is taking another shape. That is its property actually. Fine. Similarly, suppose, let me give another example. Suppose you take a iron rod. Fine. You heat it from one end. After sometimes you will feel the heat in the another end. Right. That means you are holding an iron rod from one end and you are hitting the iron rod from one side. So what will happen? After sometimes you can feel the heat in the another end of the iron rod. Why? Because obviously that means the heat is flowing from one end to another end. So that is the behavior, or that is the response shown by the iron rod. Right? So what I can say? I can say is the response shown by the materials to the external stimulus or external stimuli is the property of the material. Right? So here the property is what? Property is the thermal conductivity. And earlier the properties is what? Plasticity, or you can call, plasticity is the property. Suppose you take a glass. I'm not talking about the metallic glass. I'm talking about the glass which you people serve to the guests, which you people serve water to the guests. Glass. If you take a glass and you just allow it to fall down, you just release the glass freely on the floor, what will happen to the glass? It will shatter into pieces. So that is the property of the glass. So technically the property is called brittleness property. The glass is brittle, right? Because the response shown by the glass is that way. It is shattered into pieces. And what is the external stimuli? External stimuli is the load, the impact load. You are releasing the glass freely on the floor, and there is an impact between the glass and the floor, right? So the external stimuli or external stimulus here is what? The force, the impact force on the glass. And the response shown by the glass is, it is broken down into small pieces. It gets scattered into small pieces, right? So that is brittleness property. So property is the brittleness, and the external stimuli is the impact load, right? I think you people have understood.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
For example, suppose another example. If you beat any metallic piece, it will create some sound, right? Some interesting sound will be obtained. So that is the response shown by the metal, the sound which is coming out from it, right? But if you beat a wood, the sound will be different. If you beat a plastic, the sound will be different. So different metals, behavior is different, right? The property is different, fine. And the interesting property here I have written, bringing a magnet near to the iron, cobalt or nickel. These are all metals. They will get attracted towards it. So here stimulus is what? Magnetic field, right? Because the magnet will produce a magnetic field around it. And if you bring the magnet towards iron, cobalt or nickel, it will get attracted by this iron, cobalt or nickel. Or nickel or cobalt or iron will get attracted towards the magnet. So the external stimulus is the magnetic field, and the properties is what? What is the property?
Ferromagnetism.
Ferromagnetism. Ferromagnetism means it is getting attracted by the magnet easily, right? So these are the stimulus and the properties. So I think you people have understood. So that means you can change the magnetic property, you can change the plasticity, you can change the conductivity if you want sometimes. How we can change?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
So you didn't tell about there's a point, most important point is material property are independent of its shape and size.
Yes. Sorry, yeah, I need to mention this one. See, properties, if you carefully look into the property of a material, the property of materials are basically independent of the size and shape. You can take a very thin sheet of metal, you can take a very thick sheet of metal. But if you're talking about property, that should not get hampered. Properties is independent of the shape and size. Right?
So, sir, we are changing the, we are changing the structure only, not its shape and size.
Yeah, that is, see, when I was talking about the structure here, you can see the most important part is the crystal structure and the microstructures. So suppose you want to change any property, first of all, you have to see that material, suppose you are giving some stimulus, whether by applying some stimulus, whether, as I told, heat treatment, for example. If you remember, I have talking about some heat treatment. So in that heat treatment, we are heating and cooling, for example, right? So why we are doing that? If we do heating and cooling, sometimes what happens, the structure is getting changed in that particular material. And the interesting point is, all the materials, the structure may not be changed. The crystal structure may not be changed in all materials if you are doing some heating and cooling. There are certain materials which shows this kind of change. So that means, suppose a material is, the best example is the iron, right? If you heat the iron, at different temperature, the crystal structure may change. It is actually changing. In the real situation, it is also changing. And if the crystal structure is changing, the property is also getting changed. I'll give a beautiful example later. Similarly, the microstructures. If you do some treatment, like mechanical working, you are doing some mechanical working, as I told, forming, you can change the microstructure also. If you change the microstructures, you can change the properties. In the next class, I would like to show you those images. That will be more clear.
Excuse me, sir, but if we are hitting the iron, the structure
Yes,
is also changing and the size is also changing.
Size is changing. See, how you can say the size is changing? The size change is negligible unless until you apply an external load on it. The shape will not change, the size will not change. You
but at higher temperature, but when we heat the iron at the higher temperature, it actually means it turns into liquid.
Okay, so that is the confusion. Yeah, you people are not getting.
Yes, sir.
I am saying, when you are putting any metal into application or alloy into application or into any service, do you use any liquid metal or liquid alloy?
No, sir.
Or we use solid things?
Solid. We use solid.
Obviously, we are using solid things. That's why we have a particular subject I told. Solidification and casting, or casting and solidification. During our metal extraction, we are getting liquid metal or liquid alloy, right? Right. Then we are doing what? Solidification and casting to give a particular shape to the liquid metal during its solidification. While it is solidifying, it will get a desired shape. And further, we are doing mechanical working to get a particular shape, like coils, rails, rods, as I told, pipelines, right? So those are solid. We do not have to melt it. You understood my point right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
if you
sir.
are getting confused, let me give an example right here. Suppose you take a piece of steel at room temperature. The crystal structure of the piece of steel basically will be, I'm talking about a plain carbon steel. That means it has iron and carbon only. It is an alloy, fine. At room temperature, the crystal structure will be BCC, body centered cubic. I think you will not get it easily right now. Anyways, you just remember this one right now, BCC, body centered cubic. The iron atoms has been arranged in such a fashion that the internal structure will be body centered cubic. But the moment you take the iron to a higher temperature, the moment you reach above 910 degrees centigrade from the room temperature, the BCC structure will be converted into FCC, face centered cubic. That means what? The iron atoms will try to arrange in a different manner. Face centered cubic. You understood now?
Yes,
Again,
sir.
if you heat the iron to a higher temperature, that means still the iron is in solid state. It is not in molten state. You understand? If you take the iron to a higher temperature further, a temperature will come 1395. So above 1395, again the iron will arrange into BCC, body centered cubic, right? But still the iron is in the solid state, or the steel is in the solid state. But the moment you will heat the iron above 1538 or 1537 or 1539, it will become liquid. But liquid steel we don't want. In the service, we want a solid steel, right? But solid steel is showing different crystal structure. BCC, then FCC, then BCC again, by changing the temperature, right? That is actually a heat treatment. You people have understood right now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that means I am
Yes, sir.
modifying the structure. I'm modifying the crystal structure, and I'll get different properties. And what kind of properties? Let me give a simple example. If because you don't have much idea about this one right now, there is a property called diffusion, where the atoms moves to a large distance, basically. So that is called diffusivity property. So if you take a steel having BCC structure, and if you take a same steel of FCC structure, the diffusivity will be better in BCC structure, body centered cubic. If the iron atoms are arranged in body centered cubic fashion, the diffusivity will be more. Diffusivity will be more means, suppose carbon atom is there, carbon atom can easily diffuse to a large distance in a small interval of time. Diffusion, that means I can say diffusion will be easy, or movement of carbon atom will be easier in BCC steel. But if the steel is FCC, same steel, same composition, but the diffusivity is very less, very slow, very difficult in case of if the iron atoms in FCC, face-centered cubic form. So you understand, the metal, the metal is same, iron, the composition is same, but what is different? Crystal structure is different.
Crystal
Yes.
structure.
But the property is getting changed. The material is same, iron or steel. The chemical composition is same, but different is the crystal structure. So that's why I have told, if we are able to change the crystal structure of a same material, we can able to see a different property, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
sir.
I'll throw another interesting point. Titanium. Titanium is a very important metal, or obviously metal. We are using alloys of titanium to make aeroplanes. You understand, aeroplanes means how expensive it will be. What is the main properties of an aeroplane? It should be a lighter weight. Fine. Obviously, it will fly in a high altitude, so it will be lighter. So titanium alloys can be used because titanium alloys are very lighter one compared to the steels, basically. Density is very less. But apart from that, titanium has high strength also. That is called specific strength. In other words, we are calling it high strength to weight ratio. The weight is less, but strength is high. Anyway, so we can have BCC titanium, we can have FCC titanium. That means titanium can be exist in BCC form or FCC form, right? Not FCC, FCP, sorry. BCC titanium and HCP titanium. Basically, the titanium which we get in the room temperature is having HCP, hexagonal closed pack structure. I think you people do not understood this one right now, but just imagine, we have a
So
structure
we are
of.
getting it because in solid structure we have studied
You have
this
studied
BCC,
this one. Okay,
FCC.
very nice. Yeah, solid state physics. Okay, very good.
Yes,
So,
sir.
in the room temperature, titanium is having HCP structure, hexagonal closed pack structure. That means the atom of titanium has arranged in a particular fashion so that the structure is HCP. But the moment you take the titanium to a higher temperature, above like 840 or 850, the structure will change. The HCP titanium will change into BCC titanium, right? So suppose you want to put titanium into application where diffusivity should not be there, or diffusivity should be restricted. Otherwise, the material will get failed, or the material will get destroyed, or it will break easily. So can you people tell me which titanium alloy will be important? HCP titanium alloy or BCC titanium alloy? The application area is high temperature,
HCP.
above 850, suppose 1000 degrees centigrade. Can you guess? Anybody want guess
So in
something? Okay,
liquid
let me
state,
give you a hint here. The hint is hexagonal close pack titanium is a close pack structure where diffusivity is very difficult because space is not available for diffusion. But in case of BCC titanium, you understand it is an open structure. Some
open
space
structure.
is available, so diffusion will be easy. But I told you, if diffusion will be happening, then it will fail. It will break into pieces or it will get damaged. There will be some casualty will be there, right? So which titanium is more important for a application temperature of 1000 degrees centigrade? BCC titanium or HCP titanium?
Hexagon.
FCP titanium. Very good, very good. So that means, as I told, titanium has a behavior to change its structure, crystal structure, at different temperature. That means below 850 or 840, it is HCP. But the moment you are taking the titanium to a high temperature, it is becoming BCC. So, and your application temperature is, for example, 1000 degrees centigrade. So what we can do? Can you tell me what we can do? What a materials engineer can do? We have to do what? We have to do change in structure, right? Yes or no?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
See, we want to use titanium at 1000 degrees centigrade. And you understand at 1000 degrees centigrade, the titanium alloy will be BCC because of its nature only, right? Its nature, inherent nature. But we do not have to, we have to do something so that it will not become BCC. It is okay? So that means we are changing the structure of the titanium. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah, we are the people which we can do that. We can add some alloying elements. That is very interesting. This is not the right time to discuss that, but you should understand we can modify the structure so that even at high temperature, it will not become BCC. Or we have a knowledge, we have a prior knowledge that titanium is the metal which is showing different structure. So that means we do not have to use BCC titanium at high temperature. You understood my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay, anyway, so you people have understood to a large extent about this. Okay, this is the last topic I will show today. External stimulus and corresponding material property. As I have told, we have different external stimulus. What are the different external stimulus? It may be a load or force. It may be your electromagnetic radiations, that is normal light, visible light, or any other light, UV rays or something, X-rays or anything else. We can have external stimulus like sound, magnetic field, electric fields, or chemicals, acids, alkalis, or any environmental substances, right? Or moisture, for example. We can have other stimulus like nuclear radiations, gamma rays, beta rays, alpha rays, and we can have temperature or heat. So these are all the external stimulus we are available. And we have to use our materials in this external environment. So we have a corresponding property. To this each external stimulus, we have a corresponding property of a material. Right? So this is the classification. So if the external stimulus is load or force, then the property is mechanical property. You have to remember that. Because many people ask you, you are a metallurgical engineer or you are a materials engineer, then what are different properties of a material? So simply tell, first of all, ask him, which kind of stimulus will be there? If the stimulus is load or force, then property will be mechanical properties. Fine? Similarly, if the external stimulus will be electromagnetic radiation, the property will be optical property. Fine? Similarly, if the external stimulus is sound, then the properties will be acoustical. Acoustical, right? And the magnetic field, if the stimulus is, it is magnetic property. If the field is electric field, it is electrical property. If it is chemical environment, it is deteriorative property. Fine. And if it is nuclear radiations, then it is radiological. And if it is heat or temperature, then it is thermal. So these are the properties of various materials. Fine. So if you look into the examples, mechanical properties may be strength, hardness, toughness, stiffness, ductility. All these things we will study in physical metallurgy only. So you understand, in physical metallurgy basically deals with what? It basically deals with the material structure. Material structures means, if I will be specific, then basically the crystal structures and the microstructures, right? Or sometimes people call nanostructures if the size is very small. This is not the right time to discuss that. Anyways, so physical metallurgy is dealing with the material structure and materials properties. Material structures means basically the crystalline structures or crystal structures and the microstructures. And properties means basically the mechanical properties. We metallurgy basically deals with the or materials engineers basically deals with the mechanical properties, the strength, hardness, toughness, stiffness, ductility. Fine. And other examples, optical property example is reflectivity, acoustical properties, that is sound absorption by materials, magnetic properties, ferromagnetic, paramagnetic, dimagnetism, electrical properties, electrical conductivity, dielectric constants. Deteriorative properties is like reactivity towards corrosive solutions and environment. Oxidation is one of the example. Radiological, that's fine, no problem. And thermal properties means thermal conductivity or heat capacity. Right? So these are the examples of the different properties. Fine. Okay, I have a question right now. Everybody have visited any theater, right? Any movie hall, right? So
Yes, sir.
can you people tell me which properties is important? That particular theater will be having some particular materials in it. So which property is essential over there? Can you identify?
Sir,
Acoustical.
Optical.
Acoustical.
Very good, very good. In
Sound.
movie theater, if you get an echo, that is a problem, obviously. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Obviously. So that means in that particular theater, we should use certain kind of materials which can absorb the sound wave so that there will be no echo. So that property is called acoustical property, and that depends upon the sound. Fine. Okay. Suppose everybody have gone through or have ride or have traveled through any breeze. Fine. You people have visited VSSUT?
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Everybody have seen that PC breeze. Okay, fine.
Yes, sir.
So for a PC breeze, okay, fine. For a PC breeze, or if I'll talk about that particular Jaydev Bihar, Acharya Bihar beach, for example. So which properties is important for a particular breeze? Can you people tell me out of this?
Mechanical property.
Mechanical.
Mechanical property.
Only mechanical properties is important or anything else? Can you figure it out from this one?
Deteriorative.
Yes, very good, very good. So mechanical properties is important because the breeze should have sufficient strength, because you understand lot of vehicles are moving on daily basis. If the strength will be not sufficient, it will collapse. And you might have heard about already there's some casualty in some breezes recently or few years back. I forget the name of that breeze particularly. Okay, anyways. So mechanical properties is important, which is strength, this toughness, these are important. Okay, fine. And deteriorative properties, that means because the breeze is always exposed to rain, water, sun, the moisture, right? These are some external stimulus which are corrosive in nature. Moisture, your rainwater, right? So the breeze should have good mechanical properties. It should have good deteriorative properties. Fine. Okay. Next one is suppose. Okay, fine. Next one is suppose the electrical wires. The electrical wiring. The electrical wires are made of copper. You understand? Or sometimes the overhead wires. Overhead wires. Those are made of aluminium. So which property is important over there? Making any wires for
Electrical.
transmission of electricity. Electrical property, very good. It should have good electrical conductivity. Very good. Okay, so I think you people have a good idea on this right now. Okay, this is the time to have some discussion. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. You can ask me to move any slides if you want, or you can ask any questions up to this.
No, what about radiological?
Sorry.
So what about radiological, that
Radiological.
nuclear
Okay, fine.
radiations?
Yeah, radiological. Radiological. See. Okay, let me. Okay, you can discuss with recording, no problem. Radiological. See, radiological names comes from radiation, and you people have remember there was a casualty in Russia many years back, Chernobyl, I think.
Yes, sir.
There was a series also going on, or there were some movies related to that only. Radiological, right? Radiations. These nuclear radiations are very dangerous. You understand my point? Because these radiations are very like the particles, this gamma rays, this alpha rays are very tiny and they have high energy. These are very high energy particles. They can easily penetrate through the materials or through our bodies. If you are exposed to gamma rays, what will happen? You can got leukemia, blood cancer easily, right? So, or you can get any other skin diseases easily, right? It is very dangerous. So suppose radiological properties means you can have a particular material which you can make a suit out of that, so that you will not get exposed to these radiations. The people those who are working in a nuclear power plant, for example, where there is a radiations are there, nuclear radiations are available. So you have to wear those suits, through which the gamma rays cannot penetrate, or the alpha rays cannot penetrate, or the beta rays cannot penetrate, or the neutron particles cannot penetrate. You understand my point?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
That is
sir.
the specific. That is the response by the. Okay, let me give another interesting example. Very interesting examples. You people have some idea about nuclear power plants, right?
Huh?
Where fission reaction is going on.
ଅନୁଗୁଳ କମ ରେଟ୍ ନଉଛନ୍ତି।
Sorry.
ଏଠି ଅଧିକା ହଉଛି ଏଠି କାଇଁ କରିବୁ ବାୟା ନା କଣ ମୁଁ?
ଅନିକେତ ମାଇକ୍ ଅଫ୍
ନା ଜେନ୍ୟୁନ୍ ଲୋକ।
ଅନିକେତ
ମୋ ତୋଷିବାର ଯୋଉ ମନେ ଅଛି ନା ମୋ ତୋଷିବାର ହେଇଥିଲା।
ଅନିକେତ
କେତେ ପଢଉଛି ବେ ରଖ ଇରିଟେଟ୍ କରୁଛି।
ଅନିକେତ ମାଇକ୍ ଅଫ୍ କର।
You can call him better. You can make a call him and
Okay,
ask him
sure.
to.
Sorry, sir.
Okay, so we can have a discussion. So see, you people have learned something about nuclear power plant in physics, I guess, in 11th or maybe in 10th. I don't remember. In our CBSE, it was in 10th, anyways. So in the nuclear power plant, there is a reaction going on, that is fission, right? You people
Yes,
heard
sir.
about fission? Yes. So fission
Yes,
means
sir.
yes. So what happens? The uranium undergoes fission reaction, which it will decompose into small particles, and it releases the neutron also, right? And these neutrons will do what? It will bombard new atoms or new nuclei of the uranium, right? So what will happen? Further fission will go on, right? Every time the fission will go on means every time a particular nuclei of uranium or thorium undergo fission, it will release lot of neutrons, right? And this lot of neutrons will bombard new nuclei of uranium or thorium. So what will happen? Every time lot of neutron is coming out, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
what will happen to the reaction? The reaction will be controlled one or uncontrolled one?
Uncontrolled.
Obviously uncontrolled. With time, the reaction will become uncontrolled. It may lead to severe casualty, right? It is not like you are igniting a matchstick and you are burning something. It is radioactive materials, you understand, right? So in the nuclear power plant, we always do controlled fission reactions. So every time neutrons will come out, that should be what? It should be get absorbed or it will be easily released. Suppose 10 neutrons are coming out, for example. It's not exact data, but suppose during a particular disintegration of a nuclei, 10 neutrons are coming out. So what you want? You want 9 neutrons to get what? Get absorbed, and 1 neutrons to get allowed? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right? So that means around the fission reaction, we are using a suitable material, so that particular suitable materials can absorb the neutron. That material is zirca alloy. The alloy made up of zirconium. Zirconium is a very interesting metal, which have a property to absorb a lot of neutrons, but it allows a little amount of neutron to pass through it. That is called neutron absorption coefficient. You understand? Suppose instead of zirconium alloy, I will use some titanium alloy or something else. So what will happen? The reaction will be controlled or uncontrolled? Obviously uncontrolled. Because of using zirconium alloy, that is called zirca alloy, we can make the reaction controlled, right? So that is the property of zirca alloy.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you give entry to Aniket?
Aniket, okay. But I am not getting any request here, so I can add in. I think you people have understood radiological property right now.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay, any confusion or any questions you have? You can ask any silly questions if you have, no problem. Okay, again, I'm repeating, you should maintain the class notes on regular basis. It is not like that you will attend the class right now and after 10 days you'll maintain the your class notes. That should not be there, right? You should maintain the class notes on the regular basis. It is better to maintain the class notes during the classes. Fine. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I think there is no further questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you people can leave. Okay, CR, please take the attendance. You send the how many of them are absent. I have
Okay,
made
sir.
a group, WhatsApp group. You please add all the people.
So for that you have to make me the admin.
Okay, I'll make you admin over there. Fine. Okay, you people can leave, right?
Thank you, sir.
Sir, I am
Thank you,
I am
sir.
taking attendance.
Thank you, sir.
कोई नहीं निकलो.
Okay.
Here you can take snapshots of the better. You can take the snapshot. You will get the attendance easily. No problem.
Okay, done. You can leave.
So I have a question.
सर शायद लिफ्ट कर दिया.
सर लेफ्ट हो गए.
अच्छा सुन ना, सागर थोड़ा पूछ लेना कि जो सर जो पीपीटी से पढ़ा रहे थे वो शेयर करेंगे या कैसे?
हाँ,
कि
हाँ,
एक
हाँ.
पीपीटी मिल जाएगा तो नोट्स बनाने में easy
तो
हो जाएगा।
पर्सनली पूछ के बता देना आपको ना.
अरे भाई पूछूंगा.
मैं
सेंड कर दूंगा,
सेंड कर दूंगा. स्क्रीनशॉट ले लिया हूँ, पीडीएफ बना के सेंड कर दूंगा.
हाँ, मेरे पास भी है
हाँ,
स्क्रीनशॉट.
और सुनो ना, जो भी अगर नोट्स बनाया है आकांक्षा या सौम्या, जो भी प्लीज अगर रफली बनाए हो तो अच्छे से बना के एक बार ग्रुप में भेज देना ना, तो हमारे नोट्स के साथ भी हम लोग कंपेयर करें।
पीपीटी बना लो, मैं कॉपी करके अपना पीपीटी बना.
अबे वो अनिकेत को बोलो भी क्लास खत्म हो, फोन कर करके परेशान कर दे रहा है मेरे को.
सेशन रिकॉर्डिंग में लीव.
हाँ,
लेफ्ट कर
जाओ
दे.
जाओ जाओ.
लेफ्ट कर लो पहले.
भाई रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है क्लास.
बोल देना बे, कॉल उठा के बोल दे क्लास खत्म करके, और नेक्स्ट टाइम नहीं पता सर क्या करेंगे.
अरे लीव क्लास रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है.